What's going on, everyone? It's your girl, Tony. So, I wanted to come on here and just clarify what church is and what's the purpose of church, right? Because I have so many people that want to cross over to following a path to God, right? They know God is real. They know that they're being disobedient and they're not following God and they're being punished, but they think in order to live by God, they have to start going to church. And there's just this great conversation on social media where people think that church is just to take people money and church is just to, you know, whatever reason they think church is for. So I'm pretty much here to give you a more depth understanding of what God told me church is for. So people go to church because they think God is at church, but in reality, God is everywhere. You know, anytime you need him, he's there. Now, can you find him in the church? Yes, absolutely. But most of the times, if you want to talk to God in the shower, you can talk to him in the shower. If you want to talk to God while you're working out, you can talk to God while you're working out. You can have a conversation with God anytime because he's everywhere at every time. Like he's all things. He's in all things. He's through nature. He's just everywhere, right? He doesn't necessarily have to be in the church only on Sundays. No, he's everywhere every day, and not just one day. So God told me to share that church is mainly for community. A lot of people don't understand this, but when you go to church, you have a lot of different people that come from different backgrounds. They have different stories. They have different professions. This is what you call community. You build the community based off the people that you meet in the church. It's not just to have a relationship with God. It's to have a relationship with people. You just never know what you're going through or what you're going to be walking into, right? Because those storms are guaranteed to come. We just don't have a date and a day for them. But the people in the church that you mix with are the people that are supposed to pray for you, help you, find you resources, find you other people, right? That's what the church is for you to have those additional resources to the things that you may need. Also, people always talking about, oh, the church just want to steal your money and da-da-da-da. So what God has exposed to me about sowing your ties into the church. Now, you don't always have to do that, but if you get called to do it, then you need to be obedient. God can call you to sow into anything or anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be a church. But say, for instance, you've been going to that church for 5 years and you've been faithfully sowing your tithes. Unexpectedly, you come across a financial disaster or stress where you're behind on credit cards and you can't pay your rent and just a lot of things have been happening. Because you've been so faithful at the church and because you have been committed to sowing your tithes into that church, the church is supposed to pour back into you. That's what the church is for. Any type of financial distress, the church is supposed to help you. The church is supposed to be your number one priority to go to when you're in distress, because you've created that community. You've created those relationships. You've created that love for the church and for the people inside the church. And even if the church can't necessarily help you, the people, again, that you have mixed yourself with are supposed to have those resources available for you. But 9 times out of 10, the church is supposed to have them as well. That's why they always say find a home church, because you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and who you may need at the time. I know some people that don't even feel comfortable with going to their church and asking them for anything. And is that good? No, that's not good at all. You're supposed to go to your church. You're supposed to feel like, oh, I can call the pastor, let the pastor know what's going on. I can talk to the pastor. You know, you're supposed to feel comfortable with doing that. If you sold in your money, if you've been faithful sowing in your money, then God is going to lead you to the people that's going to help you in that church to get you out of that situation. So that's what church is for. And of course, you can go to church to get a good word. And I know some people, there's always something, right? And there's people that's like, oh, but it's religion people in the church and they doing this and they doing that. Focus on yourself. We can't control what other people do. And we can't let what other people do deter us from having a relationship with God just because they're doing it. You learn from people's mistakes. You learn from people you don't want to be like. You don't have to be like them. And they can do whatever they want to do. You are learning from those people. You ever had someone in your family that just was like, I'm not even going to say the black sheep, but let's use the black sheep as an example. They were the black sheep. They were doing everything complete opposite of how the family operates and how the family moves. You learn from that person. You can inspire from that person just as much as you do from the person that's not doing anything right. So it's like, can we keep focusing on that? Because that's not going to get us anywhere. We can't keep focusing on that. We can't keep focusing on what people choose to do. That does not mean that God is not real. And that does not mean that church is not good. If you want to, you can find you a home church where you feel comfortable, you feel safe, and you feel loved, and you pray. You pray that God links you to the people who have good relationships with Him. Pray that you come into the hands of those who are actually following Him, who actually are obedient, who actually live by what He's teaching, right? You pray for that. And that's how you find your tribe inside the church. That's how you find your community inside the church, because everybody in the church is not going to be for you. Like, that's everywhere you go, though. That's school, that's work. That's everywhere you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really no beating around it. That's everywhere you go. You just have to know who's for you and who's not for you. And you got to know that He's going to put in your path, the ones who are for you and the ones who can help elevate you. We cannot keep focusing on what other people is not doing, because that, at the end of the day, that doesn't make any sense of why you wouldn't want a relationship with God. Just because they don't know God don't mean that you won't. All right. So that's my word for today. I need to finish braiding my hair. I'm tired. Like, I've been doing my hair for 2 days, which is why I'm doing voiceovers, because this is taking forever. But my goal is to try to have it done at least by 10 o'clock tonight. All right. So y'all have a good day. And remember, your relationship with God is not tied to no religious or to a church. It simply is an act of having a conversation with Him and knowing who He is and following His instructions and His word.